92.3 AM 1620.
Sports are live and local on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Be a part of the show. Call or text at 263-1330.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies, and rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, for a man age 45 non-tobacco user, it's $1 million of coverage at $75 per month, level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for a new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Term Busters at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. Remember, 1-866-929-1950. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes for preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
TAP Book Bar and Bistro is the South's premier destination for high-energy sports entertainment. Enjoy award-winning food and a wide variety of draft beer selections with a local flair. Featuring a giant video wall, dozens of HD TVs, and a smoke-free video poker bar, there's no better place to be for sports entertainment. Join us at TAP Book Bar and Bistro, only at Beau Rivage. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Calling all Florida State Seminole fans, Tomahawk Talk is here. Tune in each Wednesday afternoon from 1 till 2 right here on ESPN Pensacola 99.1 AM 1330 to get the latest on Florida State football. Hear from the experts, the superfans, and even some former players about what's happening on the field from the sidelines to the locker room. It's Tomahawk Talk this Wednesday starting at 1 o'clock on ESPN Pensacola 99.1 AM 1330.
Presented in part by Gross & Schuster, attorney at law.
Hi, this is Terrence A. Gross. Did you know that there are over 93,000 attorneys in the state of Florida? Both myself and my partner Charles Schuster are two of only 1,000 attorneys who are board-certified civil trial lawyers in this state. Our law firm handles only people that have been injured due to the negligence of another. If you need a personal injury and wrongful death attorney, call Gross & Schuster at 434-3333, 434-3333. You can also visit us at our website at grossandschuster.com.
It's almost fall, and that means football. And ESPN Pensacola 1330 is all about football. We've got UWF Argos football every Saturday, high school football every Friday night. If you'd like to partner with ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, give us a call at 262-6000.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1. Welcome into the program. It's Talk Football with Coach K. Joe Ford and Coach K with you in studio as we inch closer and closer to the start of week one of the college football season, and a lot of games anticipating. And tomorrow night should be a pretty good game out west, Utah and BYU in the Holy War, annual rivalry game between those two teams, of course. Here locally, Boise State and Florida State, a big game of local interest. Duke, Alabama, which we'll talk about in just a second, as well as the headliner Oregon against Auburn from Dallas. And Coach K, always glad to be here with you, sir. And a lot of news right out of the gate here as Alabama. The news goes from bad to worse for them this week. Already dealing with a couple of key injuries, both to their offense and a true freshman tailback get hurt. So the depth was already not where Nick Saban wanted it to be. He's going to be without his two primary running backs for at least the first half against Duke, but never something that you want to go into the season with having to deal with those sort of issues already.
No, I'm sure it's something he would have preferred avoiding. But listen, running back, if he's a running back short, they probably got him stacked up 5 deep. Against Duke, it's not going to make a major difference. The big thing is the loss of the linebacker that they.
Yeah, and that's the big news here today is that Dylan Moses, the outstanding inside linebacker, the defensive signal caller for Alabama, likely out for the season due to a knee injury that he suffered during practice yesterday. Haven't seen that confirmed by the university yet, but there's a lot of smoke to that fire in the media, and so Alabama likely going to have to do without Dylan Moses, a guy who has been a stalwart, a key piece of their defense for the last couple of years now, and he was going to be counted on in a big way. So, Coach, defensively, Nick Saban, the Alabama team, their calling card has been on the defensive side of the ball. Now going without the signal caller, without athletically one of the better football players on that defense. So the impact that we can expect from that injury.
Well, I think to realistically look at it, if you were talking about virtually any other team in the country, you'd say, how do they replace them? But if you're talking about Alabama or Clemson, they've got depth and they have talent and they have some games. I think early enough Alabama will be able to bring that depth into play, and they should be fine. Now, they would be better with him, there's no question about it, but the degree of the loss in efficiency of their defense, I would say, is marginal.
So Alabama will get their season started against Duke in Atlanta, a venue that has been very friendly to the Crimson Tide, both in the regular season and certainly in the postseason as well. The SEC title games going there, a very familiar venue that Alabama will be walking into on Saturday, but not quite at full strength. So certainly something to keep our eye on. May not manifest itself in the early parts of the season, but with the schedule the way it is in the SEC West, we'll certainly have to wait and see what, if any, impact that will have on the Crimson Tide. Looking elsewhere in the world of college football, Coach, some big games coming up as we start to really focus and hone in on Week 1. Of course, the headliner is that Auburn game against Oregon, and I was listening to some of the sound bites from Gus Malzahn's press conference yesterday, and to be perfectly honest with you, I'm just a little bit surprised that Oregon goes in as the underdog to Auburn in this game. And I realize that Auburn has a lot going for it in terms of the depth and the talent along the offensive and defensive line. But in my opinion, I think where Oregon has the big advantage is at the game's most important position, at the quarterback position. They return all 5 starters on the offensive line. So in hearing Gus Malzahn, he certainly recognizes that. He certainly knows that the challenge is how to slow down such a potent attack for Oregon. But are you like me in that maybe a little surprised that Auburn comes out as the favorites, or do you think that there's enough there to justify that at this point?
I think there's enough there to justify Auburn being a favorite in this ball game. I understand your points, and your points are good. There's no question right now you'd have to give the edge to Oregon at the quarterback position. In fact, I'm very anxious to see him play. The offensive line, I think with Oregon, and here's I guess the main reason, your point and some other people that would take that point, is Oregon is rated higher than Auburn in all the polls.
Right.
But if you look deeper, Auburn's defense is one of the top 3 or 4 in the nation. They are loaded defensively. And I mean every position. I'm talking about the front 7, and I'm talking about in particular the back, their secondary. They got probably the two best safeties in the nation, it's going to be difficult at best to throw the football against Auburn or run the football. I mean, their defense is outstanding. Offensively, they came around last year. They had to replace a lot of offensive linemen. Near the end of the year, their offensive line played better. Okay, now how they're going to be able to compensate for that, and keep in mind they got Malzahn going back to calling plays now, and what he likes to do offensively is not what they were geared to do last year with Stedham. So that's going to be interesting to see how he brings Nix along to handle the offense.
And you think Nix is more suited for the type of offense that Malzahn really likes to run?
I think that's what I'm hearing. Okay, I don't know for sure because I haven't seen it. We'll see. We'll see pretty soon. But what I'm hearing is he is more suited than Stidham was for sure. Now, I heard he can throw the ball real well too. So if that's the case, but I don't think Malzahn is. Put it this way, he would not be, if you were going to have a great passing football team, quarterback, receivers, whatever, you wouldn't want Malzahn coaching them. You'd want somebody else coaching them. So, having said that, I think what you're looking at with Auburn is a very, very talented, deep football team. They play in a tougher conference. And I think all those things have been taken into consideration. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to be very interesting. Here's the most interesting thing, Joe, about this game. I think whoever loses this football game, there's a lot at stake here. Whoever wins the football game, they've just created an awful lot of upside for themselves, especially Oregon. Whoever loses, that's going to be the start of a long season. If Auburn should lose and they still got Alabama, LSU, Florida, Georgia to play, all those teams to play, it's going to be rough.
Yeah, and for me, Coach, my personal take here is that I think there's really two teams where, of course, every game is important, and any coach will say that, any player will say that. But when I look at it, and teams coming off of years from last year who really could do themselves the most good to come out, get a win, however ugly it may be, but just to kind of build off of some momentum, maybe to try to turn the corner, so to speak. For me, there's really two teams that week one is of utmost importance to. Number one is Auburn, and number two is Florida State. I believe that those are the two teams that have themselves really set up to, if they're able to get off a win, if they're able to kind of use the momentum from week one and kind of rattle off in some of the lesser games upcoming, those are the two teams in my eyes, and I know you agree certainly with Auburn, but I'm going to throw Florida State into that mix as well as a team that, they're saying all the right things. We're not even thinking about 2018. It's a new year. There's a lot of lessons learned. There is enough momentum coming from the offseason of Florida State with a new offensive coordinator. Questions about, maybe the talent and the depth there, but, depending, the game is so fine in terms of the margins where getting off to a really good start would serve Auburn and I believe Florida State the most this week.
I think that's a good point. I think it's going to be crucial to Florida State. You can imagine what's going to happen now, especially if they get beat and they play poorly, Joe.
Yeah.
When I say play poorly, I mean a lot of penalties, missed tackles, turnovers, those types of things that just cost you
things
ball
that really speak to coaching.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think if that should happen, I got Mr. Hard Times will move in real quick.
And we'll certainly talk more as the week goes on about the upcoming matchups, but just did want to highlight some of the ball games that are coming up tomorrow. As we like to think that the season starts on Saturday, but there's a host of teams in action both Thursday and Friday as we get things started involving the ranked teams. UCF hosts Florida A&M, Clemson is taking on Georgia Tech, and then Texas State is traveling to College Station to battle Texas and Texas A&M, and then the nightcap is that Utah at BYU game. And Coach, any of those really stand out? Not so much for the entertainment value, not expecting really close games, although I think the Utah-BYU game certainly will be the best game of the night. But anything that you are looking to see out of those games that may manifest itself that you'll be keeping your eye on as the season goes along?
Yeah, well, you're right. Utah-BYU game is by far the most important, and I think will be the most interesting with the most to tell. Utah is reputed to be a very, very good competitive football team for the national championship. Now, we'll see. You've got a long way to go to do that. But they're in a conference that I think they'd have to run the table. But we're going to know a heck of a lot more about them after that particular ball game. I think it's going to be interesting. Clemson, Georgia Tech will be interesting. Georgia Tech going to a completely new offense.
Yeah.
And those kids have been recruited to run a wishbone offense. Very, very difficult to change all those. There are really a lot of bad habits you have to get into to run the wishbone that you can't play with now and have a versatile offense. So it's going to be good to see. It'll be interesting to see how they try to come up with some happy medium and utilize. I would assume they're going to have to try to do the best they can to utilize a strong running game. But it's not going to be out of the wishbone. So anyway, there'll be some interest there, and always interest looking at Clemson to see if they come back with the same football team that we saw win the national championship.
And the one thing I was going to add to that is, we've heard that Dabo has been kind of recruiting at the same level as Alabama has for the last few years, and I think this may be the biggest test of that theory is that there are now 3 guys off of that defensive line that were drafted in the first round. So I'll be interested to see how the defensive line looks. Now we've heard from Dabo that they have guys in the wings. They're going to be bringing a lot of guys onto the field to get snaps and doing a lot of rotation. But just from a level of talent, is there much of a drop-off from the Clemson defensive line of the past couple of years to this year? That'll be something that I'll be keeping close eye on. And speaking of positional groups, Coach, I know that you've got some of the unit rankings to look forward to really hone in on in the world of college football. So we'll hit that next and take a timeout. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Lowe's is here to help pros put more toward their bottom line with special Labor Day savings on what you need to get the job done. Like $40 off your choice of a DeWalt 12-volt max drill or 12-volt max impact driver featuring DeWalt's all-new 12-volt battery platform, now just $99. And whether updating a property or building new homes, save up to 15% off select custom windows and doors. Whatever the day, whatever the job, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 9/1 U.S. only.
At ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1, we are football. Catch the biggest high school football games on Fridays. Every UWF game on Saturdays. Then on Sundays, get ready for big games with the NFL Tailgate Show from 10 till noon. Plus, talk football with Coach K weekdays from noon till 1, recapping the games and breaking down the upcoming matchups. It's football season, and it's on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
Talk football with Coach K. Happy Wednesday. ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1. Also still on 94.5. The signal's still there. Not as good as 99.1 or 1330. So if you haven't made the switch yet, I would encourage you to do so, as I have already, especially if you're living on the west side of town like me. It can be pretty spotty. So I made the switch as soon as I could, and would encourage you to do so. Programming note coming up at the top of the hour from 1 to 2, we have Tomahawk Talk. I'll be sitting in with Terry Gross and looking ahead to the Florida State-Boise State game, a lot of the news and notes coming out of the Willie Taggart press conference, and some uniform news that I think will be happy to hear if you're a Florida State fan. So we'll have all that and more coming up from 1 to 2 today. We got high school football on Friday, again at News Radio 92.3 AM 1620. Our sister station will be at Washington High School as they'll be taking on West Florida. We've got the Alabama-Duke game coming up on Saturday right here on ESPN Pensacola. So football season is here, and we're locked and loaded and ready to bring you all the best coverage locally and certainly nationally as well, with regular ESPN programming that you hear each and every day.
You know, Joe, it would be interesting, I think, to our listeners to know that our AM signal goes such an expanded coverage now we have, which we're really thankful for. But we really go all the way from New Orleans to east of Panama City.
Yeah.
Well, east of Panama City. So we're covering a large portion of the Gulf Coast here. May be of interest to our advertisers as well as our listeners if you're traveling up and down I-10.
Absolutely, Coach. And now as we continue talking about college football here, and one of the favorite things that I've always liked to do growing up, and Coach has got his the preseason magazines, and I know a lot of you are the same way, is, once those things come out, and they seem to come out earlier and earlier every year.
Yeah, coming out March and April.
Yeah, I think next year we got like right after Christmas they'll be coming out with the 2020 previews. But looking at some of the top unit rankings here in the country, and we'll do the offense today, and we'll switch gears and look at defense tomorrow. But probably not a surprise to you, but there's a lot of Alabama, a lot of Georgia, a lot of Clemson as well. But some pleasant surprises if you're a fan of the SEC. and other local areas as well here. So looking at the top 10 backfields, Coach, no surprise, Clemson 1-2, although if you want to have the debate on which order it should be in, but for now they have Clemson number 1. This is Lindy's, by the way. Clemson at 1, Alabama 2, Georgia at 3, and Oklahoma at 4. Not surprisingly, the preseason top 4 as well.
Yeah, I agree with that, but it's also interesting for people to know that I can tell you, I know some of the people that were advisors on this. I know a couple of guys that were advisors, and they accumulated some information from other qualified people. So this is not just a magazine top 10. This is it's a pretty reliable people putting this group together, this grouping together.
Yeah, and number 5, Oregon. So we'll get a good look at their backfield. Quarterback Justin Herbert, who many think has the inside track on being the first quarterback selected in April's draft. Missouri.
Can I intervene here on Oregon? I think the main reason that they're rated number 5 right here is because of their quarterback. You got to remember now, the backfield includes quarterback and running back. So their quarterback would jump them up there.
Yeah, and looking at the running backs for Auburn fans, the names that you'll need to remember, C.J. Verdell and Travis Dye, again, both averaging a bit more than 5 yards per carry. Verdell had 1,000 yards on the season, along with 10 rushing touchdowns. Oregon's always been one of those teams that never, at least going back to the days when they had Jonathan Stewart and the guy that came after him, his name escapes, LaMichael James. Oregon always likes to have 1 or 2 backs that they can really feed the rock to, and it looks like that's the same here as well. Bit of a surprise, Coach, number 6, and again, this is probably due for the most part to the transfer, Kelly Bryant, Missouri, coming in at number 6.
Yeah, that's a surprise to me, and I think they have. I think some people have really. Prognostication has been a little high for Missouri all the way around. I don't see Kelly Bryant going in and even maintaining the offensive efficiency that they had with Locke. I think he's more like a tailback who's playing quarterback, and so their passing efficiency is going to go down. Now you can just bank that. The passing efficiency will go down for Missouri. Now, when they make it up some other way, running the football, we'll find out. You got to be big and strong and be able to knock them off the ball to do that. I don't know that Missouri can handle that year-round in the Southeastern Conference.
2 heavyweights coming in at number 7 and 8, Ohio State and Texas. Texas certainly with the more established quarterback. Ohio State has probably the better running back of the two in J.K. Dobbins, who was in a timeshare the past couple of years with Mike Weber, but now he's free of that. And Justin Fields, the great unknown in terms of the Big Ten, is how does he look? He's won the starting quarterback job, no surprise there. And they've got a couple of tune-up games before traveling to Nebraska at the end of September. But Ohio State and Texas number 7 and 8. Arizona number 9, we've already seen them. Khalil Tate came 1 yard shy of beating Hawaii. And, Coach, maybe some question marks here. Number 10, the Florida Gators with their backfield.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would go with Florida right now. 10. Yeah. Love to think that could be true. But even the back Pirine, nothing really special. I know they didn't do a very good job up front, but certainly their quarterback I don't think is comparable with some of the other quarterbacks in the country. But anyway, that's a gracious seeding for Florida.
Yeah. Looking at the top 10 receiving groups, absolutely no surprise to me, to you, to anybody listening. Alabama at number 1, and can't wait to see him. I've heard a lot and certainly saw them in bits and pieces last year, but 4 guys who have a legitimate shot of being first-round draft picks, that does not happen very often.
No, and it is. They are a very, very talented receiving corps. not just the talent. Here's what people have to understand. With receivers, you've got to have a certain amount of talent that's almost innate. When I say innate talent, I'm talking about eye-hand coordination. I'm talking about the ability to maneuver the body in special ways, hip flexion, all those types of things. And then you've got to have great speed to go along with that. And these guys have it all. They've got the total package.
Rounding out the top four, Clemson, Michigan, and Oklahoma. So no real surprises there. Michigan has a lot returning, and on the offensive side of the ball, especially Shea Patterson, their new offensive coordinator, is going to kind of revamp the offense and use the talents more of Shea Patterson throwing the football and the weapons that he will have on the outside. So I think that has a lot to do with why folks are maybe tabbing Michigan as a favorite out of the Big Ten this year. Oklahoma 4, Florida again, top 5 receiving core. We saw pieces of that certainly on Saturday. They were able to break some big plays. We saw Kadarius Toney, what he is able to do in the open field.
Yeah, I thought they really didn't get the best shot because you got to look at the number of targets and all the other things involved, and it just didn't happen for them. But I think you're right. I'd give you I certainly would give you the edge on that. I think the one long touchdown run by Toney was really a game breaker for Florida.
Yeah, well, we'll go ahead and take a quick timeout. We'll come back and look at more of the receivers in the offensive line. We've got Jonah waiting on the line for us. So, Jonah, hold on here through the timeout, and we'll get right to you. You're listening to Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Don't drop the ball this football season. Make Tom Thumb your game day destination. We are your first round pick for snacks, chips, dips, and drinks. Are you tailgating before the game? Don't get blindsided. Head to Tom Thumb for all your supplies. Score big savings with our rewards card. You'll earn 4 fuel points for every $1 spent in store. From hot dogs and buns to ice and propane, Tom Thumb has you covered to help you enjoy the game. For the ultimate game day, team up with Tom Thumb, the local store for local champions.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck, Bentley. That was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical, not for sale to minors. Website restricted to adults 21 and over.
I'd been smoking for a while. I tried vaping when it first came out. It just didn't work for me. But recently, I tried My Blue, and it actually gave me the nicotine satisfaction I was looking for. My Blue is easy to use, and it lasts all day. I even like having the different flavors and nicotine options. It's nice having a choice. I think other smokers will be surprised by My Blue. I certainly was.
Find My Blue in a store near you or order online, myblue.com.
At Indeed, we believe a resume is a great way to see an overview of a candidate, but you're not hiring a resume, you're hiring a person. That's why Indeed offers tools that help bridge the gap between a candidate and the resume, like skill tests, which let you actually see a candidate's abilities in action to make sure they're a good fit for the job. See beyond the resume with Indeed. Experience Indeed for yourself today and get a free sponsored job upgrade on your first posting at Indeed.com/promo. Terms and conditions apply.
A Wednesday edition of Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1. As we're continuing our discussion on college football, specifically looking at the units, individual units, how they are ranked got the Lindy's magazine here, but you're right, Coach. The Lindy's magazine is using a lot of resources, guys that cover the teams on a regular basis, and really good stuff that Lindy's and Athlon and Phil Steele, all the others put out on a yearly basis. 972-1945 is the phone number if you want to weigh in. Let's go to the phones right now. Jonah, you're on the line. Jonah, how are you?
I'm doing well. How y'all doing?
Doing good, man.
Hey, Coach K, you undersold downtown Athens. It was a beautiful place.
Yeah, it is. I'm impressed. Always have been impressed with Athens. I'm glad you like it, and it sounds like you're going to be up there for a while, huh?
Hopefully, we'll see how it goes. The scholarship money will be a key thing, but yeah, it was a beautiful town. I really enjoyed the visit. But the question that I had was, we were talking about how overhyped Missouri is, and I was sitting here with my buddy Brandon, and we were thinking about who could possibly be in the SEC championship. Off the top, you would think it'd be Georgia and Alabama, but with a lot of the hype surrounding other teams, who do y'all see being in the championship, and who do y'all see winning?
Well, I see it without much question right now. I mean, I hate to be that sure about anything when you're talking about the outcome of football games, but I think it's Alabama and Georgia. It'll be between Alabama and Georgia. And, I don't know if you heard Danny Sheridan last week. He was on, and he's very adamant about the fact that he thinks Georgia is the best team in the nation, will win the Southeastern Conference Championship and go on and win the national championship. So that was rather interesting. But my thought on, if you're asking specifically about Missouri, I don't see how they can replace a quarterback like Locke, who was a passing quarterback. He's a drop back, throw the ball down the field type quarterback who had a great deal of success at Missouri. And how do you replace him with a guy who can't throw the football very well, is not very accurate, and that's not his bailiwick, is throwing the football, and he's a runner first. So that just in itself entails a dramatically different approach offensively, and you got to have the personnel to do that. And you got to remember now, when you're going to line up and consistently run the football, keep this in mind, who you're playing against. You're playing against Southeastern Conference schools, and to run the ball effectively, you got to be big, strong, and be able to knock people off the football and beat them physically to consistently have a good running game. Now, I don't think Missouri's in that position to just run over Southeastern Conference teams. That's why I say I don't see Missouri I see Missouri being in the lower echelon of the Southeastern Conference.
And as far as Jake Fromm's development goes, do you see him going in the draft this year, or do you see him coming back this next year to try and lead into the national championship the senior year as well?
No, I see him going in the draft. I think he's going to be drafted and drafted high. In fact, I think he's a first-round draft pick. Yeah, I don't see him coming back. Now, there always is the possibility, just like Herbert this year at Oregon, went back for his final year. Some people said he would have been the first quarterback taken had he come out this past year. But he went back to school. So, I mean, that could happen with Fromm. I think Fromm is a very bright young man. Obviously, he certainly has done a great job at Georgia, and that well could be the case. But I think he's probably going to have to turn down quite a bit of money to stay in another year.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all's insight, and I'll give you more updates as the law school search keeps going.
Well, good, and good to hear from you, and good luck to you.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Jonah. And Coach, building on Jonah's question even further, is there even a team that we think could disrupt Georgia, Alabama in the SEC title game? I mean, I can think of really only one that I would say would have a legitimate chance of, and it's nobody from the East. I think Georgia is as close to a sure thing as you can be. The team that I would say, like, if there is a team that would upset the cart, so to speak, it would be LSU for me.
Yeah.
And again, a lot has to go right. Joe Burrow has to play at a level that we haven't seen him play before, but they have the talent to do that. And you look at 3 of their 4 biggest games that they have, they get 3 of them at home, and then they do travel to Alabama. So, really it comes down to that again. But, if there's a team, I think, in the SEC, there's only one to me, and it's LSU.
Yeah, I would agree with you that it's LSU. Now, real dark horse, way outside shot, okay, would be Texas A&M. But simply because they have the talent.
Yeah.
And they've got some momentum now. And they've recruited real well again. So they're going to have an influx of additional talent to go with the talent they already have. When I say they would have a chance, and I mean that sincerely, it's a long shot. But, if we're going to name some team or teams that might have a chance, you have to put them in the ballpark anyway. But I agree, the only one with a real legitimate chance, I think, is LSU.
And continuing our conversation here as we're looking through the top individual units in the country as the season gets started here in earnest tomorrow. Live football tomorrow, and of course Friday and Saturday, the big day there as well. So we were looking at the receiving corps, and we left off with Florida, who check in at number 5 nationally, behind Alabama, Clemson, Michigan, and Oklahoma. 6, 7, and 8, we're looking at Oklahoma. They have LSU in there as well, and then USC. And a lot is certainly going to be expected and riding on how the quarterback and the wide receivers are able to gel at USC, because Clay Helton has a job on the line.
Yeah, he certainly does. And, that quarterback now, you got to remember the improvement.
Yeah.
Especially at the quarterback position. He was just a freshman last year. So he will get a marked improvement grade, I'm sure. But whether that's going to be enough, I just don't know. I really don't know. I think there's some real trouble out there. I think they're sitting on go to do something with Helton, Joe, as soon as they get any inkling from the alumni that time is up. I think they'll make a move.
And finishing out the top 10 nationally in terms of wide receiving corps, Washington State, as Mike Leach always seems to have a really sizable weapon or two on the outside there, and then Notre Dame coming in at number 10, and we'll get a good look at them against Georgia in September as well, Coach. And looking at the offensive line, again, Clemson. They're finishing as the top, leading into the season as the top projected backfield, second in wide receiver core, and then looking at them as the top offensive line in the country. Coach, you would disagree with this one, right? You would have Georgia at number 1?
I would have Georgia at number 1, just based on what I've heard, Joe, from other people that have seen them. And, what kind of backed that up was Danny Sheridan, because he gets a lot of the same information that I get.
Yeah.
And he was very adamant about the fact that Georgia would have the best offensive line in the country, and I think that I've heard it from too many people. I think that's right.
And Georgia is number 2 here in the list, and Michigan checking in at number 3. Ed Warner, the offensive line coach, he was a very good offensive line coach at Ohio State, now looking to work his magic at Michigan. Number 4 is Alabama, and then number 5 is Iowa. Iowa always has a very solid offensive line. They have really good tight ends that always seem to do really good in the National Football League. So if there's one thing that we can, if there's one guarantee in the college football season of all the teams out there, it's that Iowa's going to have good offensive line play.
Yeah, that's usually the case. They really do. It's you say, well, it's coincidental. I think it's more than that. I think they have a reputation and a tradition that is enticing to offensive linemen because of what they accomplish there and what they go on from there and do. So success breeds success.
And staying in the state, Iowa State checks in number 7. You have Auburn, Washington, and LSU going 7, 8, 9, and then Boise State. We heard Willie Taggart talking about that in his press conference this week, talking about an offensive line, one of the very few in the country that bring back all 5 starters. And Coach, from a coach's perspective, how much easier does that make everybody's job on offense when you have the continuity and the experience of having an entire starting 5 back from a year ago?
Oh, it's day and night. Really, I'm serious. There's that much difference in having to piece together guys that have never played together before, or they're young, very young, getting their first taste of big boy football and all the other things that happen. Now, one thing that's interesting about this list of offensive linemen here, Joe, what we keep hearing as a real strength for Oregon is that they've got their 5 starters coming back from last year, and you would think if that's the case they would be rated at least in the top 10 with their top 5 coming back, their same 5 coming back. But that's not the case. Now there's got to be some reason for that. Either the people that do the grading here don't think that they are that good. But that's probably the reason. But anyway, that's a little something that's not expected in that rating there.
And Auburn, again, another team with 5 returning starters, all of whom are seniors. Iowa State, again, and there's a lot of publicity or a lot of noise, I guess I should say, something that you brought up a few weeks ago, talking about Iowa State as a very sneaky pick to make a lot of noise in the Big 12, if not even contending for a conference championship, something that Iowa State fans have not seen in a very, very, very long time. We'll take a timeout. Coming back, we'll hit some news and notes from around the National Football League, including diving into some of the predictions as the season now gets started a week from this Sunday. Well, actually, a week from tomorrow, actually, the Thursday night game, the Bears and the Packers. But the NFL is right around the corner, and we'll talk about the news and notes from around the National Football League. Coming back, it's Talk Football with Coach K, ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Highway 29 in Car City.
Hi, Marty Smith here, and my friends at Marathon are really helping you save. Because right now you get 5 cents off every gallon, every day with Make It Count rewards from Marathon. Plus, you can earn points for additional savings on fuel, airfare, hotels, and more. It's quick and easy to join. Just visit makeitcount.com/radio or download the free app. So start saving today with Make It Count from Marathon. Offer valid only at participating Marathon locations. Marathon, fueling the American spirit.
If you have frequent heartburn, take control of it with Prilosec OTC instead of stashing antacids everywhere, like in your junk drawer, buried under old batteries and hotel pens, or in your purse, hiding in the one pocket you won't check. You even have antacids on your nightstand, which are very hard to see in the dark. It's time you stopped stashing antacids and started taking Prilosec OTC. 1 pill a day, 24 hours, 0 heartburn.
It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Uses directed for 14 days, not for immediate relief.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
I'm just your average, everyday, hard-working plumber. But when it comes to my business, only the best. Like commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. They help design a customized insurance solution that gets the job done right. Just like me.
An actor trying to sound like a plumber. Excruciating. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit ProgressiveCommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. It's affiliated and third-party insurers.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
The key on offense is going to be whether Franks can come back and duplicate what he did in the last 4 games.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Welcome to ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1. Pensacola's home to the best talk in sports, new and improved. We are ESPN Pensacola, 1330 and FM 99.1.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1. Joe Ford and Coach K with you. You are listening to Talk Football with Coach K, Wednesday edition, as we've spent the good part of the show talking about the world of college football and switching gears now, hitting some of the news and notes around the National Football League as week 4 of the preseason will get started tomorrow. And now a lot of the news and notes that we expect coming out of the last week is looking at roster decisions, as it is a quick move now to get the rosters down to 53. Final cuts are due by 4 o'clock Eastern time on Saturday. So, Coach, week 4 gets underway tomorrow. In your experience, and as we look at the teams here, give us a sense on, do teams already have a pretty good idea of who's going to make the final roster and who's not? How much is the 4th preseason game really mattering in all of this?
It would, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say maybe with some teams a 2. You know, it's they may have a 51, 52, 53 players in that category that you might keep, either for special teams or depth somewhere. So that could happen. And teams have made it. You know, kids have made it based on that last preseason game. I will say this. I love the game of football and respect what it can do. I'm disappointed in what it has done in many cases. But I won't get into that now. But I love the game. But this is the most distasteful time of the year when you have to cut people, especially when you have to cut somebody who's been on your football team for many years.
Yeah.
And they've gone out there and given it their all and worked through all the injuries and everything else and come back and played. And now you got to cut them. And the time comes, and it just it's unfortunate. And boy, I'll tell you what, it's tough. It's really tough when you got to look. And I always did that myself. I didn't leave that up to somebody else.
And I was just going to ask you, we've in seasons of Hard Knocks, and I think, maybe, and it's unfortunate because it is such a cutthroat business, but we're talking about livelihoods. We're talking about human beings here. But, one of the probably the most famous or the most anticipated episode of Hard Knocks each and every year is when we do see people getting let go, just because, it is drama. It is the human element of it and just the drama that comes along with that. But so do most teams, and I've seen both ways where, you have, and I forget the nickname for it, but they have the one guy on the coaching staff who kind of goes around and collects the playbooks. But I've also seen where it's the head coach who's the one doing that. And if I'm a head coach, I would like to think that I would be the one taking care of that and not necessarily leaving that up to somebody else. But is it
the Turk?
The Turk, yeah, the Turk. That's the name for it. But do most teams go that route, or is it the head coach usually making that?
Well, what happened to the Turk is the guy that goes and knocks on the door. Now, usually you do it very early in the morning before people have a chance to get up.
So he's the one who's saying coach wants to see you.
Yeah, he's the guy that knocks on the door and says the coach wants to see you, or whoever.
Yeah.
Some people have a personnel guy doing. Okay, I know to do that. Listen, I made the final decisions, so I'll tell them eyeball to eyeball and be honest with them. And as to why, because there's always the question, from most of them, why, and you have to tell them. And usually it's a very, very honest, approach as to you didn't quite measure up on this particular skill or that particular skill or whatever. And I'm just telling you the truth. Can you improve and get back at some point? Yeah, that's a possibility. You can. So make up your mind what you want to do. So you like to leave them. It's always good if you can leave them with a little hope.
This is what you should work on. Yeah.
And there have been kids that have come in when you have to cut them, and you just have to tell them, please don't bother. Go find out what you're going to do in life, decide what you're going to do in life, and go at it, because this is not the route you should take. And I think by saying that and being very honest, that in a way you're doing them a favor.
Yeah.
So.
Sure.
But it's a very distasteful time of the year. You hate to do it regardless of any of it.
So, again, the deadline by which final cuts need to be made is 4 o'clock Eastern time, so 3 o'clock locally here on Saturday. Some of the news and notes here talking about as teams try to form the roster here and seeing if there's any last-minute trades that can be made before the season starts. The one name that's really floating around right now is Jadeveon Clowney, as he's kind of at an impasse with the Houston Texans. The Miami Dolphins are a name that have been coming up in the last couple of days, and in fact, Brian Flores, the head coach, actually met with Jadeveon Clowney to give him a sales pitch about the team and what his role would be. Seems to me that it's probably a matter of not if Clowney gets traded, but when, and if there's a team that can make it work personnel-wise. I know the the Texans were throwing out the name Laramie Tunsil as far as a trade piece, and I don't see that happening. I don't know why the Dolphins would want to give up Laramie Tunsil, kind of a franchise left tackle on that side to make it happen. But Clowney, it would appear, would be on the move. Just a matter of who gets him and when at this point.
Well, that's true. And while nobody really knows the inside story other than the coaches and the personnel people that have worked with him, and certainly the ones that have been working with him in camp. But I had heard for a long time, Joe, that this guy's got some flags, okay? And the flags are primarily lack of motivation and effort. You can't count on him every time. Now that's something that, you hate to hear that because that's a killer. The very time that you can't depend on him is when they break it, and it just you just can't have it. He's not the type guy, I understand. And listen, this should go back to Spurrier in South Carolina. If you remember back when Spurrier got in a little trouble for telling the truth about Clowney. He said something about questioned Clowney's authenticity on the field and whatever, and then he had to go back and try to the next day and try to take that back, walk that back, because they didn't want to have that type of publicity out there.
Yeah.
That to lose recruits in the future. So he had to walk it back to protect their recruiting base. But we should have known. I knew at that time, the guys, you better really check on him.
And some other interesting names being floated out here. This is Greg Rosenthal, writer for NFL.com, and looking at some of the more high-profile candidates to possibly be traded or cut. And again, this is all speculation, but we talked a lot yesterday, Coach, about what the Indianapolis Colts do from here as far as addressing the quarterback depth, and Chris Ballard is in the market, and if you've listened to or read any reporters that cover the Colts, they said almost immediately, like, the Colts are aggressively looking for an option there. So a couple of names being thrown out there. We talked yesterday about the Patriots and how they really like Jarrett Stidham. So Brian Hoyer, a guy that you mentioned yesterday, could be there. Also C.J. Beathard, former Iowa Hawkeye and backup for the San Francisco 49ers. They have Jimmy Garoppolo back healthy, and they also had Mullins last year. I think Nate Mullins as kind of the second the backup there. So a couple of names there that might be options for the Colts to solidify the quarterback depth.
Yeah, I'm not so high on Beathard, but I am on Hoyer. I think he's a guy that could go in and give them some stability there, and not that he would have to start every game, but if anything happened, you need a guy like that to step in. Certainly, if you're having a decent season.
And looking at some of the potential cuts here, some names that we're certainly familiar with. T.J. Yeldon with the Buffalo Bills, of course, the former Alabama running back here. But depth is never a bad thing, and the Buffalo Bills certainly have a lot of that. They have LaShawn McCoy, Frank Gore, both aging, but they also drafted Devin Singletary in the third round of the draft. So T.J. Yeldon, a guy who could be on his way out. Carlos Hyde, another running back with the Kansas City Chiefs. He could be on his way out. Again, lack of opportunity there, but also the emergence of Darwin Thompson, real speed threat there as well. And then a couple of Dolphins, Kiko Alonso and Raekwon McMillan, a couple of linebackers with the Dolphins. And Kiko Alonso involved in that trade for LaShawn McCoy a few years ago, but some of the more headlining players there that could be cut come Saturday. So
yeah, an interesting question here comes to mind about T.J. Yeldon. He was at draft. He was drafted maybe second round with Jacksonville, but Jacksonville got rid of him because he was a bad influence, I understand, on Illinois. And since he left, Illinois has been a better city.
Yeah, Fournette. Yeah, a lot expected of him this year. Yeah, so we'll. That'll do it for us here on a Wednesday. Coming up at top of the hour, Tomahawk Talk. We'll have a preview of the Florida State-Boise game. That's coming up next on ESPN Pensacola.
It's almost fall, and that means football. And ESPN Pensacola 1330 is all about football. We've got UWF Argos football every Saturday, high school football every Friday night. If you'd like to partner with ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional